All right, take two. I accidentally touched the stop button. So the video today is called Familiarity Breeds Invisibility. And that tiny little excerpt that I just made, I might put that one up also, because I was saying something very spontaneous that I've meditated on. So Hollywood and Gaia TV are a type of a chaos magic. And we do not need to engage in that chaos magic, because what it does is it builds a false structure inside of us that limits our ability to really have our full freedom. All right. It builds thought ideas and it implants, I believe, and activates part of your DNA that should not be there. So Gaia TV and Hollywood are the same thing. And if you look at some of the characters, I actually post a little Facebook video of many of these characters where someone showed like the dimple chin with old photographs in old picture books and even movies, where these are the same people recycling again and again and again. So Edgar Casey had the dimple chin, and his look-alike has the dimple chin. And these are people that are the slaves that are being recycled and causing chaos magic. Now, we don't need any disclosure about UFOs or aliens. And I've made videos about you are the only alien you need, you are the only angel you need. Because those things, the Pleiadians, are dead, unresolved consciousnesses. They are things that are feeding upon us, that are in the system. And as I said in the previous little video, that includes spider beings, the Borg, Anunnaki, which are technological beings, and the hydras, the mantids, many different groups. There's a whole big group that comprises the Galactic Federation, and they are not our friends. Those are our captors. Okay, so when you have Hollywood making movies of aliens and alien invasions, or even friendly spiders that somehow come here and we have to learn telepathy with those spiders, those are the things that are trying to imprison us by making the chaos magic on Hollywood and Gaia TV, so that you're always following it and you think there's some Messiah who's going to give you disclosure. And then that Messiah suddenly crucifies himself, and then you are left heartbroken with the same exact sacrifice implant that you already have in your DNA, called VMAT1 and VMAT2. It's a part of your DNA that should not be there. It needs to be gotten out of your DNA through the flying rainbow lasagna that makes you religious. And a lot of these topics on Hollywood or Gaia TV are very religious feeling. You feel like there's a Messiah somewhere in that movie that's going to save you. All right. So Gaia TV was like Cory Goode, and he also had the dimpled chin, and his co-host who was interviewing him. And yet later this guy, Cory Goode, says that it was all a fantasy. It was all drama. He made the whole thing up. And yet everyone is still watching that. Like somehow some fantasy drama chaos is going to make it better for you. I'll show you what's going to make it better for you. The sun, gardening, watering your plants, having your hands in the soil. And many people have criticized me about this, saying, oh no, I don't want to connect with nature. Nature's part of the trap here. No, nature is your liberation code folks, of getting up every morning and being very excited to be alive, of being very happy to exist. It's your liberation code. Okay, so nature is the thing that I get up every morning and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do sun gazing right now while I'm making this video. And as Dr. Jack Kruse says, there is no alternative. Tina, T-I-N-A. There is no alternative. You don't need any other medicine than to sun gaze in the morning. And right now it's 8:36 a.m., so anything before 10 a.m. is that red light, which connects with your mitochondrial suns inside your body and activates your genetic code of your divine blueprint. All right, these things I can just say now because there's less censorship. So while you're activating your genetic code for at least 30 minutes every morning, gazing at the sun, then you're getting more intelligent. And even though Jack says it's emitting, what I learned in the path of light is that that photon is you. Like that biophoton is you. You are a piece of the sun. And so in the singularity, really it's that I am that light and that light is me. And there's a loop in the singularity that brings me into that full spectrum human. It activates the mitochondria and it gets rid of all of that false DNA stuff, like the religious stuff, like VMAT1 and VMAT2, that makes us wait on some like disclosure, some revelation, some, Messiah who's going to save us. There are no messiahs. And if you didn't figure that out with like, the Pizzagate stuff and who's involved in this stuff, like you're not going to figure it out. And what I just did this week is I cleaned out my whole list, looking at the people that are really counting on this guy who just deceased himself. And I'll put the link from Boulder County, Colorado. His family knew that he was extremely mentally ill. And in his own biography, in his own books, he talks about, the amount of drugs that he used and just like, ending up like drunk or stoned or, incapacitated in some way and laying in his parents' yard. And I'm sorry to the family, but you really do need to just listen to Aurora's video on this, because these kinds of chaos magic distractions, things that take you away from your own humanity and your connection to nature and are completely false about the universe, are going to be going away. So when we do the lasagna, we are reflecting away bad ideas, bad timelines that would get us into more chaos with these interdimensional, or what you'd call extra-dimensional beings, like the Pleiadians or the Anunnaki or the Draconians or the Mantids or the Greys or the spider beings or the jellyfish beings or any of those creepy things out there that feed on us and should be in entropy. So those type of bad ideas, and literally bad people that cannot figure it out, are going to entropy. You have to understand, they will no longer exist. They will go into a 0-degree Kelvin state, and their consciousness will disintegrate or dissolve, or what I've called the space dust return. So you're seeing these people making tons of videos. They're connecting through their device to the internet. Right now, I'm not on the internet, and I'm looking at the sun, so I'm not even looking at the screen. And I've ordered the red light glasses from Lucia Eyes that are recommended for night by Dr. Jack Kruse, because it's really through the eyes. So all of these influencers out there who are making tons of videos about what they think happened, which was pure, like I looked at that, I blocked and delete, block, delete, block, delete, because all of those people cannot be in my timeline. They are bad ideas. They are distractions. They are part of the chaos magic. Some of them are my clients. So now I'm going to say this. I'm retired now. I've had 30 years of speaking privately with what I'm going to call mentally ill people, really. And I'm not talking about those people who have their shit together, you know. I'm talking about clients that I have worked with that made videos about this recent self-sacrifice situation. And I know them personally. Some of them have been to my house, and some of them I have gone to their event, whether it's about UFOs or hybrid children or whatever it is, and they are deranged, mentally ill people. So I'm just going to say that as a counselor, that is something that, you know, I'm not going to name any names, but just look in your news feed. The people making videos about Pleiadians at like the ESETI Ranch, which I've been to, are deranged. Okay, they've had visits, they've had sex with MK Ultra people, they've been implanted, they have false memories, they have false experiences, they write books about these experiences, and I know them personally, and I know a lot of the violence and domestic abuse that those people are part of. And I've been a counselor to those people, and they make videos, and they are very publicly held in the algorithm to get a lot of views. So they get promoted, whereas my videos do not get promoted. All right? So this is something I'm letting you know. The other thing about this familiarity thing is, like, I looked back at old soap operas like General Hospital. Half of the characters have that dimpled chin. Nowadays, they can like put in plastic surgery, they can put in Botox or whatever. Just because, you know, like if you're part of that group and you have that dimpled chin, that's an atavistic trait of the snake or the nog, which is another galactic race like Quetzalcoatl, DNA that needs to be gotten out of you. All right. So the presenters that were doing the, you know, ancient aliens and stuff like that, the UFO conferences, did you notice that they have the dimple chin? Edgar Casey had the dimple chin. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about these so-called prophets. They're not prophets, they're planners. Edgar Casey was not a prophet. He was a planner. All right, when you look at his flood maps, that's a plan. All right. When you look at Steiner, who was another one of those, I believe from Mars and of the reptilian group and a very high-level Freemason, he was not a prophet, folks. He was a planner of chaos magic. And so when he prophesied that they would make that would remove your soul, that wasn't a prophecy. It was a plan. Okay? And I know that now because when I'm flying through the dimensions with a master, we are picking out timelines for the best possibility for humanity, for my own personal timeline, for my family, and we are picking from the many worlds, the best and the most intelligent timeline to get this planet to re-evolve, re-center itself back to its true north, you know, its golden compass of what humanity is supposed to be, which is photosynthesis beings. All right, so those people, like Edgar Casey, they were not presenting to you prophecy. They were presenting plans. that were very well scripted, possibly for thousands of years, that they were part of in the chaos magic, which is all distraction. But we can get that to happen if they call it prophecy, if they call it disclosure, and you believe in it because you are a generator, that we can get on that timeline. That's how it's done. Otherwise, a full spectrum human uses their star Merkaba to go up through the dimensions, and I can't explain this completely because Aurora's the master, not me, and you get to a 0 point and you're able to see choices of different versions of yourself to pull out a timeline, which basically looks like polygons and colors, that works beautifully and is harmonious for humanity. That's how it's done. That's what we're supposed to do. But if we're here on like the chaos magic, the gloom and the doom of a self-sacrifice martyr, then you're getting on that timeline. So that's literally how it's done. It's chaos magic. And the dramatists have certain agreements, possibly to take themselves out at a certain time. And they can be scripted, like what they will say comes through the internet connectivity. And they're not using red light glasses to stop that connectivity to the blue light spectrum. All right? So they're getting implanted ideas even while they're speaking, because they're doing, nonstop infomercials about disclosure or something. They can be implanted while they're doing a live stream for words that AI then wants to use to make them a self-sacrificing martyr. Now, it could be that, or it could be just people who cannot continue to exist in the timeline because they're doing this ridiculous, like, moving humanity towards a gray alien cyborg, Pleiadian agenda. They will take themselves out of the timeline because actually there's some good part of their soul that knows that they cannot keep repeating that baloney. And that's a horrible statement for me to make, but I'm telling you, I think that's how it's going down now, is people are taking themselves out of the timeline and putting themselves in entropy, a space dust return. Their consciousness is too confused. They're too soul weary. They have financial debts, which I'm going to call mathematical debts to society that are too great to recover. So I also want to talk to you about how I see divinity. And Aurora explains this perfectly. There's no forgiveness contract out there of, you can be infinitely stupid and then you'll be forgiven in your come to Jesus moment and you're forgiven and everything's clear and you get it. No, it's mathematical, folks. If lifetime after lifetime, I'm not talking about karma, but causality, lifetime after lifetime, you have fragmented yourself with bad ideas, bad behavior, taking money from platforms like Hollywood or Gaia TV, you're accumulating so much debt that you mathematically owe so much back to Earth from your false baloney that you cannot go forward. You're like a weed in the garden that doesn't allow the garden to grow. And from that perspective, divinity is not forgiving you. They're just taking you as a weed out of the garden because the garden cannot grow with that bad idea, with that, strangling principle. And this might be something that you just can't even fathom what I'm talking about because we've been so mind controlled with this infinite forgiveness shit, and that everyone's going to go on to heaven. No, I would say that I'm just going to say this, the masses will go to entropy because they are filler people. All right, it's really scary. The level of their consciousness is so low that I would say that they're not functioning as humans. They're functioning as something really that is very reptilian. that cannot see the bigger picture. Okay. So divinity isn't to judge either. So the relief to me, like the way that I can handle this all, and it's been like since November, and I'm just realizing that so much bad ideas need to go to entropy. But there is no judgment in that either. Like you just return to the oneness, you just return in the back end of like a space dust return instead of continuing forward back through the layers of actually yourself to pure pristine light, which is the sun. Okay, so there's no judgment either. So God or divinity is not offering infinite forgiveness, but also there's no judgment. Okay, you just go to 0 degree Kelvin and your DNA comes apart and your consciousness is like on a space dust return. So it's actually like complete bliss. It's like, oh, relief. You know, I was on the wrong, some people were on the wrong track so badly that they would need to go to entropy. Okay. Hopefully this is making some sense to you that, again, what you really need is you need nature. You need the experience of the garden and pure sunlight. You need to touch the earth. And if possible, you need to go around with, bare feet. Right now, I'm not wearing bare feet. I have to be careful because my knee's still a little bit sensitive to not trip and fall. But what you need, and there is no alternative, Tina, is sunlight, connection to nature, pristine food, exceptionally good practices to make sure that your DNA and your mitochondrial sons are getting more energy and not wasting energy. So I'm going to just let you see Zane's over there watering the garden, because this is a topic that I wanted to talk about. That little garden hut there is the perfect living structure for a natural human. Because one of the things that I learned from Jack Kruse is that glass, like indoor, windows, glass creates blue light. And I was like, oh my gosh, all of this is domestication syndrome, where you have TVs, which is another familiar object, so it becomes invisible, and you don't realize that that thing is actually a weapon, right? TV is one of those familiar objects that is invisible and is a terrible weapon. So that's blue light. It's causing Parkinson's. Apparently, according to Dr. Jack Kruse, as much as you look at these screens that are plugged in, you're eating a piece of cheesecake every 15 minutes whenever you look at one of these screens or through glass in your house, which creates blue light spectrum only. And Walt Disney did a whole research on this, because he was one of those of the Hollywood group too, to make sure that, if you put kids in schools and you put that type of glass in, they will have the blue light. It'll make them docile and make them hypnotized. It'll make them stupid. It'll make them fat. All right, that's what windows do. And then isn't it interesting that these screens all came up? So we're like surrounded with blue light that's coming through our windows. Looking at the screens is like high noon. All right, blue light is high noon with the sun. That's why at high noon I pretty much go inside, because high noon is when my plants, like these trees, get the most photosynthesis nutrition. So it's literally like they're eating cheesecake at high noon. And because you are a photosynthesis being, really you are, when you're looking through the glass of your house or at your TV, you're eating cheesecake all the day. And Jack has person after person who just stops doing that and starts doing morning sun gazing. And I also do evening sun gazing from 4:30 to 7:30. Not through glass, but out on our porch or through a screen if it's too buggy. You want to be able to bring in that light, and then you basically can eat anything you want, although I'm still very selective on only eating light-filled food from my own local community. That's all you have to do to be healthy, is stop looking through windows, go outside in nature, and plant your own food. And then you'll be a millionaire. You'll be a bazillionaire. So let's look again at this structure, okay? That's the only thing you need right there. Like in that little structure, there's a deck for sunlight. There's a hammock for sleeping in. There's water. There's a back room with screens for storage. Zane's got his shovels, against the back here. And I'm just going to show you a little bit, like, here's a friend who came to stay with us. And in all pure intelligence, pure creativity, inspiration, he came into, like, this was all poison ivy, and made this unbelievable magical garden. And I cannot even tell you how beautiful it is, because it's a feeling. It's a feeling of the elementals being here, the fairy folk. I'm not saying that I know anything about them. You can feel them, the beauty in the yard. Okay? You can feel the creativity and the lushness of the squash coming up. And you don't need straight lines. You don't need plows. You need a couple of shovels and a little garden hut. And that's all you need. And I'm very with Jack Cruz on, you need to live in a latitude where you're getting plenty of sunlight, and you don't actually need walls. You don't need glass. Here in Florida, I would say you probably do need a screen, because there are some bugs, and I think those bugs are probably bioweapons. We're all doing a parasite cleanse right now, so we don't have any bioweapons crawling around on us or in us. And I'll show you just like how to live. I'm showing you how to live. Like, often people say, oh, I can't do it in my climate. It's too dry. Well, we're in an extreme drought here. Extreme drought in northern Florida. And we, of course, got the shit we need, which was a huge manure dump truck. And you can see, like, you plant it all kind of together, and it's the color, it's the sound of the birds, it's the morning sunlight, it's the blessings of rain, it's the incredible gratitude to have a body, and then you're suddenly in the miracle, again, of what Earth was for. You see, the drama from the TV, from any kind of the domestication, is what takes our generative power and then creates chaos magic. So what do you need? I'm only going to do sessions for people who can do this. You need a garden. If you don't have a garden or some potted plants or herbs or something, I'm not doing a session for you. If you're not sun gazing, please do not ask me for a session. If you're not able to breathe and be in nature in some way, now I have a knee condition, so I know it's very important to be able to walk, to get out in nature. But if you're not participating in nature in some way, I can't do a session for you. Because what I'm noticing is people who are staring at screens have such a level of neurodegeneration, they can't even figure out how to get on a call with me. Like, they're not able to figure out how to send their birth details. Like, it's really, folks, since December, something has really shifted. And when we came back to this community, we were like, what has happened to the people? Like, they're all lobotomized. The more that you're looking at screens or through windows or living yourself inside your condominium, the more you are facing obesity, diabetes, Alzheimer's, also known as brain fog, dopamine loss, which causes depression, psychological illnesses, if you are living inside. All right, so those are my parameters. You have to be growing something, you have to be sun gazing, and you have to be spending time in nature. Otherwise, I cannot offer you a session, and I am definitely retired for anyone in that category. All right, I would rather just grow plant medicine, which I've been doing a lot of. My beauty berry balm with the orange oil is off the charts, folks. I mean, it is just incredible. And we've been doing a lot of herbal teas here. And that's the path humanity needs to get back to. Not disclosure, not spaceships, not med beds, not free technology. All of that is your ticket to entropy. All right, so if you're watching those people, you're getting on a bad idea program, and you will end up in entropy. I really think the masses will be ending up in entropy. So do the best you can, folks. You have to effort. No Messiah is going to disclose something about DARPA and the gray aliens that then promotes your longevity and your ability to be a full spectrum human. Nobody can do it but you. You are your own Messiah. All right, friends, so now I'm up here with my cedar trees. I told you I had these wonderful collections of cedar trees, and I'm going to start watering. It's 9 a.m. now, so I got to do my sun gazing with you. And please pay attention. Familiarity breeds invisibility. One of the other topics, and possibly a book that I'm interested in writing, is going to start something like this. Dear Mom, we are not supposed to have belly buttons. But the familiarity of a belly button breeds invisibility. You see, we are not supposed to give birth. We are not supposed to be cattle. We are supposed to be photosynthesis beings that sing a fully formed, enlightened consciousness into the world, into the biosphere that is Earth. Belly buttons are part of the genetic defect that was placed in us. Think Adam and Eve, and how Eve had to suffer childbirth, and she had to suffer finding a husband. All right? We are not supposed to have belly buttons. In fact, I'm going to give you a little heads up on this potential writing that I do. I don't think we're even related to our so-called family members. I've done enough astrology at this point, 30 years of counseling with astrology. I don't think that our family members are our soul groups. I think that we are placed into groups also to cause trauma. And maybe that's going to help you release some of your attachments and ask some questions. Familiarity breeds invisibility. Now, you're very familiar with, who gave birth to you. And then through epigenetics, they created certain thought structures in you that became your DNA. That's how it works. What you have to do now is get those thought structures out of you. Anything that you got from your family, from TV, from the politicians who are also TV, that are part of the drama here. You need to get that out of you. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean that they're really related to you. Some of them might need to go to entropy. And they might be your abusers, your murderers, lifetime after lifetime. So consider that. All right, my dears. Gaia TV is Hollywood. Don't waste your energy there.